Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the meeting of Full Council. I am the Mayor of Rugby, Councillor Deepa Brochman Roberts, and will be chairing the meeting. This meeting is being web streamed to the public through the Council's YouTube channel. During the meeting, if you wish to speak, please use the push button to talk on the microphone in front of you. Before we begin the formal agenda, I will ask the Executive Director to provide details of evacuation procedure for those present.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is no fire drill scheduled in the building this evening. If the fire alarm sounds, then please make your way out of the building, down the main staircase, out of the main doors of the Town Hall, and congregate at the entrance to Caldecott Park. An officer of the council will give instructions on when it's safe to return to the building.
Are there any apologies, Executive Director?
Madam Mayor, I have apologies for absence from councillors Mrs Maldis, Mahoney, Shearer and Willis.
Okay, item number 2 of the agenda. To approve the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held on the 22nd of February 2022. I move that minute for the ordinary meeting of the Council held on the 22nd February 2022 be approved and adopted. Who will second the motion?
I will, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. The motion is carried. Item 3. Declaration of interest. Can I remind members that when they declare interest, they must also declare the general nature of the interest. Are there any declaration under A, non-pecuniary interest as defined by the Council Code of Conduct for councillors? Councillor Mrs. Ruda?
Yes, for item 6A, as being the chair of the almshouses.
Any more? Councillor Lawrence?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 6A as a trustee of Hill Morton Charities.
Thank you. Councillor Gillies?
Item 6A as a trustee of almshouses.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas?
Thank you. 6B, the housing strategy as per my register of interest as head of policy at Property Mark, an organisation working in housing. Thank you.
Thank you. No more. Item B, pecuniary interest as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for councillors. Item C, notice under Section 106 Local Government Finance Act 1992, non-payment of community charge or council tax. Thank you. Item number 4, Mayor's announcement. Firstly, I would like to welcome all members and officers back to the Council chamber for the first Council meeting in the Town Hall since the start of the pandemic. Councillor Roodhouse submitted an email to the leader of the Council, the Labour group leader and the Executive Director with the views of his group on the return to the chamber, and these have been duly noted. I recently wrote to the Mayor of Kiev to express Rugby's concern regarding the current situation between Ukraine and Russia and share the borough's solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Rugby is a proud multiracial and diverse town and home to people from many different countries, all of whom are part of our communities. Rugby supports Ukraine as a sovereign, self-governing state and hopes that the situation will be peacefully resolved soon. Our thoughts are with all those affected by the conflict, and we stand together with our Ukrainian friends at this desperate time. Residents may be moved to help those affected by this crisis, and there is information about how they can donate on the council website at www.rugby.gov.uk/Ukraine. Members have been informed that Canisius Fulmai, the council's environmental education officer, passed away Tuesday, 7th of March, after a long illness. Canisius joined the council in October 2016 and was based in the Works Service Unit. Much of his work was focused on improving the borough's recycling rate and promoting community involvement in litter picking. I would ask all members and officers present to stand in a moment of silence in memory of Canisius. Thank you very much, councillors. You may sit down. Item number 5, questions pursuant to Standing Order 10. Are there any questions, Executive Director?
There are no questions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item 6, to receive the reports of officers. The next item is to receive the report of Chief Officer for Legal and Governance set out at item 6A of the agenda. The report concerns appointment to outside bodies. Councillor Miss Robin, will you move the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I so move.
Who will second the motion?
I will second the motion, Madam Mayor, and reserve my right to speak.
Councillor Miss Robin, do you want to?
The report speaks for itself, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other speaker? Anybody want to comment? Nope. Councillor Lowe, as the seconder, do you want to say anything?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. If there is no speakers, I will put the motion for vote. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. The motion is carried. The next item is to receive the report of the Chief Officer for Communities and Homes set out at item 6B of the agenda. The report concerns the Council proposed housing strategy for 2022 to 2024. Councillor Mrs Crane, will you move the report?
Madam Mayor, I so move.
Who will second the motion?
I will second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Crane, do you want to?
I'm pleased to bring this report tonight, which is the new housing strategy for 2022 to 24, and it will guide the strategic direction and set the action plan for the Communities and Homes team. It's split into 4 key themes and has been developed against the backdrop of the national and local issues facing residents at this time, and it sets out how we plan to tackle housing-related issues in the borough. It's a forward-looking strategy that was developed following consultation, and it focuses on the actions which will be implemented for each theme and sets out clearly what steps are going to be taken by who and within a time scale. And I really want to thank all officers for their work on developing this, and I'm looking forward to the positive changes that the strategy and the action plan will deliver in terms of improving the housing situation for residents in Rugby, and I recommend that the strategy be adopted as set out in the report.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Douglas.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, housing. Housing, one of the most important things in people's lives. So I welcome an updated strategy that must continue to develop and evolve. I appreciate that councillors have already fed in, but I wanted to make and raise some further observations. There are various sections on tenures in the strategy, but for the private rented sector, we are yet to see the Private Renters Charter that was passed by this council. I know we've had COVID and I've engaged with officers in order to update that, but when will it be up and running? It's been passed in the last strategy and we need to see it in action. The strategy talks about enforcement in the private rented sector, but there also needs to be a focus on targets for the numbers of inspections that we carry out as a council. Otherwise, we won't see the improvements that we want, as outlined in the strategy. Liberal Democrats also think there are opportunities for tenant and resident champions to help with engagement across tenures and understanding of all housing relating matters and the council. For existing stock, tackling empty homes is an issue I've raised over the years in council, and it was National Empty Homes Week from the 15th to 21st of February, and Action on Empty Homes lead the campaign, and they have case studies from councils using empty dwelling management orders, compulsory purchase powers, as well as opportunities available to retrofit and bring empty homes back into use, meeting housing need and contributing to meeting net zero targets. So I hope the council will look to engage with them. Planning and housing go hand in hand. So what caveats should we be putting in the planning process to improve our carbon footprint and ensure homes at a point of major renovation, for example, or build, are making the necessary energy efficiency improvements? And finally, the Centre for Ageing Better say that by 2040, 1 in 4 of the population in England will be 65 or older, but only 2% of our country's housing stock has been designed with pensioners in mind. And I would go as far as to say that this council, like many other local authorities, need to start to plan for this impact and the development of housing specific for older people, identifying appropriate sites and design specifications across a mix of housing tenures to rent and buy. So I hope all these issues can form further thinking going forward, because as outlined in the strategy, we need to be dynamic, we need to be responsive to emerging issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Councillor O'Rourke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And can I just say as well, in terms of, the ex-councillor Terry Deary was a very much loved member of our group for many years, and I know in particular Councillor Ish Mystery was very close to him, and it was really very, very sad that we've lost him. He was a good long-serving councillor. Right, I'm sorry if I've taken advantage there, but we just wanted to say something. Right, there are many good things in this report, that we'd all support. It's a good report on the whole. However, is it really ambitious enough? Is it addressing the challenges facing rugby, the challenges that we're facing now? Is this the strategy to taking the holistic approach that is needed across our local housing sector to really make a difference to the well-being of all rugby residents? Are all of our housing developments that we are building now, new build, conversions, regeneration schemes or empty properties being brought back into use? And are all of them of a high quality? Do they mitigate against negative health impacts and maximise positive health outcomes? We all know that actually where people live has a really, really big impact on their sort of long-term health and actually their whole well-being. It's not new. We've been sort of talking about this for over 40 years. And I am sort of concerned that there isn't perhaps enough focus. Whilst it's a good report, and I do thank the officers and everybody involved in it, I do feel there's not enough focus on some of the challenges around HMOs. And I know that our executive director is, looking at that now, but it really is a priority. I mean, I was recently out with Councillor Paul. We walked, and I thank you for that, Councillor Paul. We walked the ward, and honestly, it's not good. The impact of the over-concentration of HMOs in that area is felt absolutely everywhere, from crime, from sort of the rubbish that's been left to the sort of the transient sort of nature of the whole ward, people not staying, people moving on, the sort of antisocial behaviour. It was there to be seen. It was really, really clear. And, I know I'm the councillor in the area. I know it's an urban area, but it's a gateway into rugby. It's the first thing that many people see when they get off the train. And it is really having such an effect on the people now in Ben Ward. It's making people ill, I mean, we have got to do something about it. And I did come to this council chamber some time ago. I think it was probably 2 or 3 years ago. And I put in one of our sort of budget requests. I asked about us sort of buying some of the houses in Ben Ward and starting to invest, because we were buying properties. We were, investing, which is a good thing to do, and I'm absolutely for that. But I was told, it wasn't the place to actually sort of buy property because they cost too much to maintain. But when I look at some of the stuff that's been happening elsewhere, in Newcastle and other places, they are investing really heavily in these properties in those areas because they recognise and understand that social deprivation does not bring good health. It doesn't do what we need it to do if we're not investing. So if we had have bought some of those houses, we would have been protecting them in terms of them all being turned into HMOs. For young families, they would have been affordable in terms of renting. They would have been affordable in terms of people to buy. But we're losing the one lot of stock of houses that people, if they do want to buy, they can buy in these wards because they're affordable. And we're also losing the rental as well, because the rentals now, every one that comes up, it's HMO. You see it advertised on all of these sort of stuff in the town centre where you go to the estate agents, want to make some money, get a HMO. And I'm sorry, we have to address it. We need to do something about it. So it is a really good report, and I know you've worked really hard on it. I hope you don't think I'm being overcritical, but we've got a problem, and I would like something there that actually sort of says, yes, we recognise this and we're going to do something about it. And finally, just to say to you, Councillor Crane, and to our executive officer, there's over 30 groups in this country now, lobby groups, that are saying what impact HMOs is having on their communities. And MPs are supporting them, and they're doing what they can, because there's a recognition nationally that there is a real problem with this now, for all sorts of reasons. We have now got a group in rugby, and it's in Ben Ward. We had a meeting the other week. I know some of it's related to residents' parking, but the residents' parking comes back to HMOs and flats and all the rest of it as well. And the people in the community want to meet you, Emma, and they want to meet you, Seb, and they want to meet the executive director. They want you to come and listen to the challenges that they're facing every day with all these HMOs. So I'm inviting you. We have a group. We can listen to them. I know we're doing work with officers now. They're going on knocking on doors. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate that. But I've got a big group of people that would like to speak to you about how these HMOs are sort of impacting on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. And can I add, thank you for reminding us about Terry Deary. On a personal note, he was my first councillor ever when I moved to Hillmorton. And he's the first councillor I've ever spoke to. And I did make sure that a letter of condolences was sent to the bereaved family. Thank you. Councillor Woodhouse.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, the camera's playing up again. There you go. It's one of those evenings, isn't it? Can I start by welcoming this strategy? I think it's a welcome document to have. It's refreshed and it looks out far enough ahead. So it's great, and we have those words. The thing about strategies is, as I note within there, it's that the action plan is talked about. And the only comment is, could I ask the portfolio holder as to when we'll see the key performance indicators to match the action plan, so we could monitor those on the management performance system?
I hear what Councillor O'Rourke says about HMOs, but I'm a little worried she's tarring everybody with the same brush. I am concerned that there are some very good landlords out there, which we've seen at the planning meeting. Hang on. No, I haven't given way. Okay, I have
Just a minute, Councillor Sampson.
I haven't given way, Chair.
I will allow you to talk after that, yeah. Would you remove that?
I have a concern that Councillor O'Rourke wants to impugn that a number of people living in HMOs are always a problem. It is not true. I have 9 people living in a HMO next door to me, and they're perfectly A-OK residents and neighbours.
Councillor Sanderson, just give us a minute, please.
No, I haven't finished.
Please.
When we discussed this at planning, where is the right place to make such decisions about HMOs?
Councillor Sanderson,
it was agreed.
If I can just interrupt you, Councillor Sanderson, that the Mayor, Chair of the meeting...
I'm sorry, I'm not following the script.
It's not regarding following the script. The Chair of the meeting, the Mayor, has directed you to stop speaking. There is a point of order which Councillor O'Rourke has raised. If we can address that first, and then you can continue with the point that you wish to make.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, your language is inappropriate. You need to apologise to the Chamber and withdraw that remark, right? The second point is, you've accused me of stuff that I have not said. I have said nothing about landlords at all, nothing whatsoever. And, you know, to start generalising and use that sort of language against me is unacceptable. I will want an apology.
Councillor Sanderson, do you want to remove the word that you used? And an apology to?
Draw a word, but I hold to the fact that there was an almost a sort of, I don't know how to describe it best, blaming anyone who lives in a HMO for all the problems of an area. Blaming all the landlords who run HMOs as being a problem. And I know it's not true, because I have a 9-bed HMO next to me, and they're wonderful neighbours, and they look after themselves, and they look after the property well. So I don't like people being labelled. It's not right, it's wrong.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you. I just really want to emphasise that what I heard was that HMOs put pressure on space where we have Victorian streets that were built to accommodate not the kinds of things that we have now in society. So they weren't built for cars, they weren't built for multiple occupancy, they weren't built for lots of bins. They weren't built for that kind of thing. It's absolutely nothing at all. I'd heard nothing about anything derogatory about either landlords or the people who live in HMOs. The pressure that's put on our wards, our urban wards, is significant because there are people who live incredibly close together, and that puts a strain on behaviour sometimes, but more importantly, it puts a strain on where you park your car, how often you can get in and out of your house yourself without people parking on the pavement outside your door. It is incredibly difficult and stressful. And short-term contracts occasionally, although this is not to say that all landlords and all tenants behave like this at all, but those of us in wards with a lot of HMOs know that short-term tenancies sometimes lead to a lot of fly tipping. So where people move out, they will tip, sometimes. And part of the housing strategy might be a link to a facility that would help with that. So is there something that we can think about that links in to keeping wards which are under immense pressure tidier and nicer to live in? Thank you.
Chair, might I suggest that they actually adopt the charter Councillor Douglas has been pushing for quite some time, and then we would have some better control.
No, I didn't even give you the permission to speak, so please don't start jumping in without the permission, okay? So I respect you, but please. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the excitement of being back together has probably got the better of us tonight, but I welcome it nonetheless. I accept and welcome the retraction of the unfortunate word, and as someone who chooses her words often poorly, I do accept that mistakes can sometimes be made, as is this cardigan, which is absolutely hideous on me. But I come to Councillor O'Rourke's defence. We are here to defend and to speak for our wards, which you did passionately and eloquently. And I think that I heard nothing to which any other member would take exception. And Councillor Sanderson, I know that you are also a passionate defender of this borough. But let's perhaps, the irony of me saying this is not lost on me, is let's welcome being back together and honest and open debate.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Okay. Councillor Lowe, as the seconder, do you want to say anything before I go back to Councillor Crane?
I wasn't going to, Madam Mayor, but I will just speak very, very briefly, and I think non-controversially, just to address one of Councillor O'Rourke's points. So she did ask whether I'd be willing to meet with some of the residents. The answer to that is absolutely yes. It's always been my policy to engage with any resident of the Borough of Rugby who wishes to engage with me, so very happy to do that.
Crane?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I thank all members for their comments, and just coming back on a few of the points. Councillor Douglas, you talked about the importance of planning, absolutely share that, and I would just say that a lot of the stuff that you raised, we are actually doing both through the SPD for sustainable development and also through the climate change strategy, which I appreciate has not been out for consultation yet, but we will be looking at energy efficiency, and that we do see that as being incredibly important. Also the points about older people as well is something very much on the agenda, and I absolutely agree that there needs to be more provision for that. Councillor O'Rourke, I would just echo what Councillor Lewis said, that if there are residents that we need to meet to hear about these issues, and obviously, you know, understanding of the pressures that HMOs can on some occasions put on the infrastructure in particular neighbourhoods, and yeah, happy to meet. And on the question, Councillor Reuters, on KPIs, I will speak to officers and look into, you know, the best way to achieve that. Thank you.
Who will second the motion?
I will second the motion, Madam Mayor, and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Are there any speakers? Councillor Sanderson?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Can your leader advise me why it became an urgency matter to deal with public space protection orders, since it comes under 2 portfolio holders and they are renewed every 3 years?
Madam Mayor, obviously the councillor hasn't read the papers. Madam Mayor, have you read the papers, Councillor Sanderson? It's on page 1 of under delegated powers, where it says the date, the 4th of March. Council doesn't sit till the 14th. End of story. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Can the portfolio advise us why it didn't come to the February meeting?
Any other speakers? No. Councillor Lowe, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
So if there is no more speakers, do you want to add anything, Councillor Poole?
No, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. So if there is no more speaker, I will put this motion forward for vote. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. The motion is carried. Item number 7, notice of motion pursuant to Standing Order 11. In accordance with the Council's constitution, no motion on notice have been received for consideration. Item 8, correspondence. Is there any correspondence, Executive Director?
There is none, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I must apologise to all of you. I've already got a strange Frenchy accent, but I've got a bad tooth of wisdom, or whatever you call it, that's playing up, so that's why I'm speaking funny. Okay. Item 9, Common Seal. I move that the Common Seal be affixed to the various orders, deed and document referred to in the agenda. Who will second the motion?
I will, Madam Mayor.
Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. The motion is carried. Item 10, motion to exclude the public under Section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972. Under Section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following item on the ground that they involve the likely disclosure of information defined in paragraph 3 of Schedule 12A of the Act. I so move. Who will second the motion?
I will, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. The motion is carried. That excludes the public part of the meeting. Can we